In today's video, it's going to be a whole lot of mismatched pieces around the car. Finish up this driver's side. I'm getting ready to turn it around underneath my tarp structure here. Start to get a little bit of the bracing that we need, and yeah, give me a spot to mount a floor. So do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, share the video, like it, comment below, give me some feedback. I'm working on a weekly video for some high-tech stuff. I've had a lot of questions about CAD work. I'm going to try and break it down super simple, make it easy for guys to program files, take them out to their local plasma cutter, probably turn those out on Mondays. But for right now, let's smash some metal, burn it together, and get some more stuff done. So a little bit changed since the last video. Quite obviously, all of this bracing here, this is old shelf uprates out of my garage. I've been using it to brace up the cab the whole time, but the door was twisting and flexing some. This took a lot of the twist out so I could actually locate everything. Down on the pillar, right here, the shelves that I've been using for metal had a nice strip of like 3/16 by 1 inch bar. So I welded it all the way from the rocker here all the way up this. It was pretty obvious that it was all wavy in here and it was flexing every time I opened the door. And I braced it all the way up into here. I still got to add a little patch up here. We'll finish this up. The factory hinge location, I cut all that out, added a piece of plate. And you can see on the outside, I patched all that in, so now it's solid. And if we move over to the other side, added a piece of metal on the bottom here. And I cut out that smashed up piece on my cowl and added the body line there. And you can see up in here, all of this metal was mangled pretty good. This car had been wrecked a couple of times, so who knows what's straight, and it's the wrong doors. So I had to cut slivers out of here. I cut a section out of here. Had to put a relief cut back here and beat everything back with a hammer, because right about this point it was actually rubbing up against my door. A little bit of error when I built it because everything flexed. But now if we close this door, the door sags a little bit until I get it all adjusted properly and the inner structure in. Now it all looks like it belongs, and I don't have that eyesore of a dented panel. I got fresh, clean metal, and we can move on to some other stuff. So this rocker here, it's good and it's strong, and it gives me a great point to start from, since I was starting from nothing. But I found that with I had a crate supporting the center section here in between my front and rear pillars, and I found that it was bowing. So what I've done is I pulled that out, I put milk crates under the pillars, made sure this is reasonably flat, but I need a riser here that's going to tie A pillar to B pillar. It's also going to be the riser for the floor, and I need something high enough that I can put a structural rib in there to support the floor. I don't want to make it out of box tube. I'm just going to form it out of plate. But since I'm trying to get things done with the tools I have here, I've been robbing metal from these shelves out of my garage to build all kinds of random bits and pieces. It's got a nice broke edge, so I'm going to go back to it, because this shelf is going to give me enough metal to do both sides of the car. Now, it's not long enough to do it in one shot. I think it's about 42 inches. These shelves are 36. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section of metal about 4 1/4 high, plus the 1/2 inch thickness. That's going to give us 4 3/4 to the inside edge of the floor. That allows me to put a 1/2 inch rib on the underside of my floor and still be above the frame rail. So my frame is no lower than my rockers. This will lay rocker when I air it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down. I'm going to cut a long strip, a short strip. I've already marked a line on the inside edge of the door. All I'm going to do is step about 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch inside of that line, and I'm going to weld that vertical. We're going to join the two pieces in the middle, and I can start putting some support ribs in, give or take, where they need to go for my structure within my floor. and that'll tie everything on this side together. When I do it on the other side, that's going to give us a surface on the top which I can just drop my floor on top of and build my support ribs from there. If I had $1 for every time I said, this is far from the sketchiest thing I've ever done, I'd be a very rich man. Now, I've used the high lift before to move metal around. I was going to use the jack out of my truck or a bottle jack. Would have been a little less sketchy, but it was trying to rotate under my strap and I didn't feel like welding chain down. So earlier I talked about how the crate underneath was causing this rocker to bow. Ratchet strap, jack directly over the high point and jacked it down until this panel I'm welding in sits flush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn this as far as I can. I'm going to put my second piece in there. It's not a huge bow and it's not under a lot of tension. It didn't take much to push it straight, but I needed it straight to put this in here and have a good starting point. So with this tacked up, get the other part done and we can move on to something else. So a quick tip, if you're butting pieces of metal together that are in line, as soon as I welded this front piece in, it tried to bow. It was holding the lower rocker straight, but the force was causing the top edge to pull in, and it wasn't going to line up with my back piece. Now, you can clamp things on here, you can use box tube and stuff, but to be completely honest, I have no idea where any of my vice grips are, let alone all of my panel vice grips. I need to replace everything. So I'm using some of that shelving, some angle iron. It's super strong on the seam, so all it took, 2 tack welds per panel, and it holds it straight as an arrow and gives me a chance to weld up my seams where they join. I'll leave it there while it cools down, and I gotta build a little patch piece to fill in this corner here and hold everything upright, and this side just needs some finish welding. So I figured I'd show you this piece in and remind everybody, metal is sharp. You will bleed on a car when you work on it like this. But look, safety glasses. So you can see where I had to cut away the bottom corner of my outer door here. It's because this radius I put in there wasn't going to clear. I knew that was probably going to be a problem, but I wanted this corner rounded. I wanted it radiused. I got to shape the bottom of the door and I got to shape that corner. And we come out here, you can see where I already cut off the door where it was interfering with the door jamb. But with this in here, see how it's basically 1/2 inch off there. This is going to be about 1/2 inch in here. So when my door panel comes from up here down to this level, the door panel is going to tuck just inside of here, so when you're sitting in the car, it's going to look like it belongs there. And I mean, that piece isn't straight to the rocker, but the door is fatter on the back end than the front end, and I totally expected that. But now I've got a place to mount the floor on this side and my rocker is straight. So I've said it before, and anybody that's worked with metal, moving panels, doing body work, replacing quarters, they know what I'm talking about. Now, anytime you move any piece of metal, it's going to affect all of the metal around it. Now, when you're doing, say, a quarter on a properly braced car, you're cutting it out, you're replacing it, as long as you can control the warpage, you're pretty safe because everything's contained. In my case, since I'm building the car from nothing, and the bracing that I have was basically to keep it to dimensionally what I needed. There's not a whole lot of places to put braces, and I didn't bother because everything is moving. I'm allowing it to flex so that most of my panels are relaxed when I finally do put the bracing in. But I've got a pretty good demonstration here. Now, the A pillar is attached to the rocker and sill, which is attached to the B pillar. None of my welds are finished up top. I've got lots of bracing and patchwork to do. But this rear quarter, my fender, is welded to the upper section of the fender and to my pillar. Now, this is actually sticking out further than the fender on the passenger side of the car. I know I need to deal with that. It's all twisting and warping. What I want to do is start dealing with the wall behind the seat into my package tray, and then everything can get braced. But to demonstrate what I'm talking about, this is not structural by any means, but if I take a finger and I push on this, now where you need to be looking is up here. Just by a couple pounds of pressure here, this is causing the rear of my roof to flex, which is causing the rest of the roof to flex. It's flexing in this joint at the top corner of the door, and when it flexes, it's pulling my B-pillar back, which is lifting my door. Now, when this is all done and my package tray's in, there'll be an inner fender structure to hold this rigid where it needs to be. As much as I'm trying to keep it light, I want it durable, I want it put together properly. So what I need to do is I need to get this all lined up where it goes, put in my inner structure, and then put my inner structure for my fender in and hold it into place, because this, when this is right, all of that is where I wanted it. Now I know this looks bad. I've cut everything free here. I've cut the bracing out. What happened was I decided the best place to go right now, since everything is moving like I showed, is to get the rest of my floor, my rockers, my sills, all braced solid with the pillars so that I can finish working on both of the doors. And before I start working on this door, I may as well get all of this done. So I climbed inside the car. I've got an angle finder called Climbnometer on my phone. I use it. It's digital. It gives me decimal point readouts. And I found that the pillars measuring up here was different by about 3 degrees side to side. And when I was measuring diagonally from my rocker panel up to this bend in the sheet metal, and from here to that body line, I found out that it was 5/16 high on this side, and it was 1/2 inch closer diagonally this way than it was the other way. And I put a ratchet strap in here to pull it all straight, but it just wasn't quite enough. As soon as I cut the brace, cut it off of here, everything moved. So right now I'm going to pull everything straight. I'm going to get my B-pillar welded into place so that it's the same vertically here, it follows the same line, and so that my angles are all the same side to side, and then I can run a proper brace between them to hold it square. I'm going to get my A-pillar done same as the other side. It's holding square as it sits right now. And I'm going to get my sill plates in on top of my rockers here and get a couple of braces in the floor, and then I can get back at this door that I just cut off of here. So now we're back to some semblance of together. Now, this rocker wasn't bowed like the other side. I don't know if it was actually because it was propped up on the milk crate, or if it's because it was sitting in somebody's backyard for who knows how long. But I got the lower section of the A-pillar on, the lower section of the B-pillar, reattached the skin. This is all in the correct angles. And measuring diagonally from rocker up to body line, opposite directions, it's close enough to square that I'm happy. I've measured it in all the directions I can, and I mean, I'm getting under 1/8 of an inch of variance in any direction. That's more than good enough for a car that I'm not sure was closer than 1/8 of an inch from the factory. Now, this upper section of roof is still a variable. I can see where it's not lined up perfectly here. The biggest thing right now is that now that I'm this far and I know this is holding and that's holding pretty much from here forward and this point down, the big thing is to get some cross members in the floor. I've planned out for one here, and then 14 inches, 28 inches, and 42 inches is the A-pillar. So there'll be a couple of cross members in here. I need to plan ahead for my transmission tunnel. There's no sense in putting a cross member in that goes all the way across and then cutting out the middle when I already know where things are going to lie. So right now, that's my next job, is that I'm going to figure out my cross members, start getting the floor piece together, get some braces here, and I can actually start bracing from the back window out into the package tray, out into the bars that I've added, and back into my B-pillars. Get all of that braced up, which is going to help hold all of that so that I can finish squaring off my tail section. Up until this point, I've left everything a little bit loose because everything is moving as I'm pulling things. I needed to get my basic shape together. If I have to cut a few seams, relieve some tension, and push things into place, I'm entirely expecting that. That's why nothing's welded out all the way. But this is the best direction to go. Now, if I had planned ahead to building the car this nice, what I should have done was build my door frame, make my doors to match, situated them on a lower panel, preferably some kind of frame table, to make sure that I didn't have to do all of this. Because yes, I had to undo some work today. I had to cut some pieces free. Realistically, I killed an hour or two worth of work undoing some things to put things back together. But in the grand scheme of things, I probably saved myself several days. And for the end product I'm shooting for on this car, what I've done here is more than enough for what I'm expecting to turn out. Okay, so what I did is we found a piece of particle board in the backyard, braced it up on these sill plates to kind of give myself a general guide of where my floor is going to be, and make sure that my 6'4" human being will fit inside of this thing. And set that down on the sills. I got a board up here to hold my legs up, and a 2-inch ratchet strap hooked between the A-pillars. And it's tight, but I can stretch my legs out to the firewall. You know, look from the side. And I actually fit in it pretty good. There's not going to be a whole lot of room for creature comforts in here, but I don't know, I kind of like it. So you can see here what I was talking about, just a piece of board. I've got a bucket under it and some 2x4s blocking it, a 2x4 across the sills for my leg, and my giant seat belt so that I can lean back. But sometimes that's what it takes. Just gotta fit myself in there, make sure that I can stretch out, reach the controls, move my legs, move my arms, and most importantly, don't smash my head on the roof there when I hit a bump. Before I drag this video out too long, I think this is where I'm going to end it today. Now, I always struggle with what to film, how long to make videos. Do you guys want to see more of the technical, hammer it together, high-speed montage? Do you want to listen to me explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, show you in between? Give me a little feedback, shoot me a comment below, you know, tell me what you think. The process is still really new to me, and I'm still piecing this all together, how I want to make this all work. I want something that I feel comfortable doing. I can film either way. I can make longer videos, I can make shorter videos. It's not a big deal to me. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear some feedback. I think I sourced a front axle for this. I'm just waiting to make sure I can go pick it up and I can get it. Keeping it Chevy, pretty cool. I'm stoked about this as long as I can pick it up. But I'm stuck on a drivetrain. Now, I don't do Fords, so Ford motor's out of the picture. I've got a big black Cadillac in the other car. I'm not really stuck on a powertrain so much, but I'd love to hear some ideas. It's got to be a stick shift. I'd prefer a Chevy motor or something along those lines. And honestly, the comments may not matter because it may depend on what I stumble along. You know, if I stumble on a nailhead engine for the right price, then it might get that. You know, I've considered putting an inline 6 in this thing. I haven't made up my mind yet. I've got some ideas. Worst case, I'll go pick up a $100 small block and let her blow blue smoke out the back as it melts the tires off. But shoot me a comment. Tell me what you think. What do you think this thing should be powered by? And yeah, I think that's where we're gonna let this go today. Anyways, I'm rambling on. So do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I mean, man, it's actually kind of thrilling. It's exciting for me to see people interested in what I'm working on and what I'm doing. We love, me and the kids and the wife go through the comments. I love doing this stuff together. I'm thoroughly enjoying YouTube, so subscribe to the channel anyways. Like the video, share it if you think this will help someone else down the road. Shoot me a comment, and you know what, I've got, let's see, this is going to come out Saturday morning. I have the first in the series of CAD tutorials coming out Monday morning. I'm going to try and shoot one of those out every Monday. I'm going to try to do basic stuff, things that people could actually use, show you how to program them, so you can make your own files to fit your vehicle or your gate or your wall hanger and just send it out locally to be cut. I'm hoping I can break it down to the simple process so you can do it. I got some more cool stuff coming up, but it's going to have to wait for another video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.